Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is May 23rd, 2026. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News post-match live analysis. I forgot what we were doing here. We analyze Barcelona matches as soon as they end. Today, of course, we're going to be talking about Barcelona's loss at the hands of Valencia 3-1 at Mestalla. And with that, that's a wrap. La Liga is a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. The 2025-2026 season has officially come to an end with this loss. Not because we lost, but because the season is over. And, well, we are La Liga champions for the second season in a row. Now let's look at the table because this is how we have finished the 2025-2026 season. Of course, Barcelona up top, champions of the Spanish league with 94 points. There we go. Of course, 38 matches played. It's complete. It's done. It's over. And during those 38 matches, we had 31 victories, 1 draw, and 6 losses with 95 goals in favor, 36 goals against with a goal difference of 59. Not bad. Not bad. That's a lot of goals, triple the amount of goals that we've scored as opposed to we have conceded. Of course, second place, we have Real Penalties, finishing the second season in a row, trophyless, 86 points. And out of the 38 matches, 27 victories, 5 draws, and 6 losses, the same amount of losses as Barcelona, but 4 more draws. And, of course, they have 77 goals in favor, 35 goals against with a 42-goal difference. But people want to tell me, Mom, the highline doesn't work. Oh, look at all those goals we concede. Apparently, we've conceded the same amount of goals of Real Madrid, so they might have a highline problem as well. I don't know. You guys tell me. Then there's, of course, Villarreal in third place, Atletico Madrid in fourth, who, by the way, have conceded 39 goals. 39 goals. Atletico Madrid, the team known for parking the bus every match. The team that's known for defensive veracity. 39 goals conceded, 3 more than Barcelona. But no, the Holland doesn't work. No, we need a center back. We conceded a lot of goals. Anyways, let's scroll all the way back down because we officially have the 3 teams that will be relegated, which of course is Mallorca, Girona, and Real Oviedo that will be going to the second division. Girona, what a shame, by the way. Only, last season that they were playing in the Champions League, and the season before that, they finished La Liga in third, and now they are back to second division. What a shame from Girona. What a shame for Mallorca as well, because as we know, Pablo Torre plays there. We'll see what's going to happen with Pablo Torre. And of course, Virgili, now that Mallorca are getting relegated. Maybe Barcelona can re-sign Virgili on the low. We'll see, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Now, those in European spots, of course, top 4, Barca, Madrid, Villarreal, Atletico making it to the Champions League for next season. It's pretty cool for Villarreal, by the way. Whenever they go, they always make a good campaign. Real Betis, they're going to the Europa League alongside Celta Vigo, if I'm not mistaken, and Getafe, they're going to the Conference League, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, it doesn't matter. Who cares about those European tournaments? Just kidding. Anyways, this is what the table looks like with today's loss. The season is over. It's a shame, by the way, because if you look at if you hadn't watched the entire season and you look at this final table, it looks like it was a lot closer than it actually was between Barca and Madrid, because we ended only 8 points apart, even though we were 14 points apart a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, as we saw, the difference between both teams were way, way bigger than 8 points. And I mean, as far as quality, as far as performance, as far as consistency, I mean, the difference was day and night. But, you know, with these 2 losses, like one against Alaves, one against Valencia, it looked like a lot closer, but it wasn't. This was simply, I think, a big part of it, of course, was those 6 points that we dropped towards the end because, of course, the team is not as motivated now that they are champions. Now, let's talk in general about the match because, again, another loss after becoming champions because, of course, part of it was the lineup and another part was, of course, motivation, right? I mean, what is what's gonna motivate Barcelona here? We're talking about the final match of the season. They're already champs. The World Cup starts in 2-3 weeks. Of course, most of Barcelona's team is gonna be playing in the World Cup for their different nations. Of course, not a lot of motivation there. Why would you want to go all out? Victory, draw, loss, it doesn't matter. We're still champions. You don't get a second La Liga title for winning this match. And of course, why risk injury, right? Why risk injury when, again, the World Cup is right around the corner, as opposed to, for example, Valencia, who who needed a victory because had Getafe drawn or lost, Valencia could have qualified to the Conference League, and that, of course, really motivated them. As you can see, as you saw from the first minute, they came out swinging because they wanted to qualify to Conference League. Because sure, it might not be as prestigious as the Champions or maybe even as Europa, but it's still European competition. It's good experience for the team itself to face off against other European teams that you usually don't play against. And of course, it is increased money, right? TV rights, more matches, more ticket sales, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think a big reason, or the number one reason for the loss today, was the difference in motivation. And of course, the second was the lineup. I think we saw a lot of changes in the lineup where Hansi Flick tried different things. We saw players like Andreas Christensen play, which of course he hasn't played like in 2 seasons due to injury. So of course he was completely out of rhythm, out of competitive rhythm, out of shape. So as you can saw, he was exposed left and right. I don't think that's a reflection of Christensen, because we've seen what Christensen is capable of when he's healthy. He's an incredible defender, but of course when you haven't played for so long, well, you're gonna suck. You're gonna be exposed. And then of course there was also Xavi Sparp, him playing on the right. Again, got exposed a lot, but he is an academy kid. I think this is his second, third, or first division team ever. So of course he still lacks a lot of experience, and of course he also lacks the rhythm, right? Because a jump from fourth to first division is a big one. And then once we put in Frankie De Jong, who's also coming back from not playing for too long, pretty much the midfield was a complete mess. And then in the front, we had no passes to our attackers, and with the fact that Rashford and Cat was a ghost in the match. And then even Ferran started out the match good, but then he started to kind of like decline as the match went on. And then Lewy, even though he scored, he wasn't really doing much. So you put all these together, Christensen completely out of rhythm because he hasn't played in so long. Xavi Spar, who's still pretty green. Frankie, who was also lacking rhythm because he hasn't played too much. And then our front three were pretty much non-existent. Well, we had a Barcelona that looked like a fourth division team, right? A team that wasn't able to complete more than 2 or 3 passes in a row. A team that didn't look like they knew what the hell they were doing. Players that that looked like they didn't know how to play together. A team devoid of any kind of ideas or any kind of plan or system in place on what to do and how to face off against Valencia, which pretty much they look like Madrid. Let's put it that way, right? They look like Madrid this last 2 seasons. No ideas, no plan, nothing. Just 11 players on the field trying to figure it out as the match went on. And of course, Valencia took advantage of that, who were a lot more organized, a lot more motivated. And we saw it from them. They truly are the just winners. I mean, the first half, they had way more chances than us. They created chance after chance. I'm surprised they weren't able to score any of those chances. And then the second half, they continued creating chances, where Barcelona, we started out somewhat decent in the first half. And then from there, it was just a downhill from there, where we got worse and worse. And then the second half was just an absolute disaster. I mean, it was just completely disastrous. But I'm not going to come here and be all mad and scream and be like, what the hell? Because, again, we're champions. The season's over. None of these players even care. Like, they have the World Cup right around the corner. So of course, I didn't expect to see one hell of a performance today. Now, I gotta say, the silver lining out of today's loss, because the way we were giving away the ball, the way we were losing the ball in critical areas, I mean, it was incredibly frustrating. Again, looking like a fourth division team. But the silver lining out of all this, of course, is Lewy got his final goal, right? Today was his last match ever with FC Barcelona, with the FC Barcelona K. Of course, last week was his last match at home. Barcelona gave him a proper goodbye at the Camp Nou against Real Betis with that victory. And we all wanted to see that goal right at home. It never came. But today it did, right? Ferran Torres was that with that horrible shot that was like miles off from from that goal, which ends up becoming a pass to Lewandowski, and then Lewy pushing it in. That obviously sealed the deal for Barcelona and or sorry, not for Barcelona, for Lewandowski, bringing his total to 120 goals and while scoring one last goal with Barcelona on his final match. It would have been nice if it would have came at the Camp Nou, but nonetheless, it came. So Lewy now leaves having scored 120 goals for Barcelona, and I think he's a top 10 scorer for Barcelona, if I'm not mistaken. So it was definitely an emotional day for him. We saw him there at the end of the match saying goodbye to the away fans, to the Barca fans in the stadium. He was crying, very emotional. But not only today was the end of the 2025-2026 season, but it was, of course, the end of Lewandowski's journey with FC Barcelona. We're going to see where he goes next. They're saying it's going to be Saudi, but not to Al Hilal, most likely to Al Ittihad. We'll see. But I'm sure we're going to see more of Lewy in the future, because as I told you in a previous video, looks like his wife and her and his kids are going to stay in the city of Barcelona while he goes away wherever he goes. So that means most likely they're going to stay living there when he comes back. And, he might, I'm sure Barcelona will make him an ambassador or something like that. I'm sure we'll see more of Lewy in the future, obviously not as a player, but definitely linked to Barcelona, which I think is great. I think all of our legends should be linked to our club, even after they retire, because that's just how it should be, right? But anyways, that's not much to say. Again, horrendous match by Barcelona, but it doesn't really matter. We're champions. We've been champions. This loss didn't really mean much for us. The same way the victory didn't really mean much for Valencia, because Getafe ended up winning their match. So it looks like Getafe are headed to the Conference League. It's a shame, by the way. It's an absolute shame. Not because I'm a Valencia fan or anything like that, but to see Getafe being rewarded for the awful football that they play, that spark the bus and waste time and burn out the clock and foul and kick and just waste time, to see that kind of football, anti-football really get rewarded with a European competition. I think it's an absolute shame. I would have much rather seen Valencia go. Hell, I would have rather seen Real Sociedad, Rayo Vallecano, anybody aside from Getafe go to the Conference League. It's an absolute shame, but it is what it is. That's Bordalas for you. That's just how he always plays, or his teams always play. But anyways, that's all. That's not much more I want to say. Let's do a few more comments. I am going to be probably making a video sometime this weekend, maybe next week or throughout the week, about the summary of the whole season. And that's about it. So let's do some comments and then we'll wrap this up. Actually, let me see something real quick. Before we do some comments, because okay, here we go. That's a very interesting stat. Okay, here we go. Let me show you something real quick, because I've been saying this and I've been driving this point for quite some time. That Barcelona's problem is not a defensive one. It's an offensive one. That we need goals, because our system of play, it's set up to where, you attack with the whole team. Very offensive, very aggressive, very, a high line, which, leaves you exposed. And yes, it does leave a lot of room to concede goals. But, as long as you're outscoring your opponents, that's okay if you concede goals, right? But the problem this season is we really haven't had much firepower up front. So if you're risking getting conceded on to score goals, but you're not scoring them, then what's the point of risking goals, right? So I've been driving this point. We need more firepower up front. We need a world-class center forward. We need a better left winger, which, by the way, Radford cannot be it. But anyways, let's look at this number, because every time I've said that, there's always been like people like, "Man, you're crazy. What are you talking about? It's Gerard Martin and Babco and blah, blah, blah." And, let's look at this very simple, very basic surface analysis. And by the way, I hadn't looked at this before. I was just like, let me check it out. This season, 38 matches, right? Completed right here. 36 goals against, 95 in favor, right? Let's look at last season. And I'll zoom in right here, 24, 2025, right? I'm not showing you anything crazy. 39 goals against. Remember, this season, 36 against. Last season, 39. So we actually conceded less goals. But Iñigo Martinez left and our whole defense fell apart because Kouassi sucks and blah, blah, blah. Well, we conceded less goals than last season. And look how many goals in favor. 102 as opposed to 95. So we conceded less goals and we also scored less goals. For those of you who tell me I'm crazy when I say we have an offensive problem, not a defensive one. Anyways, we'll talk about more about this. I'll make more videos about this. This is just a quick look at this, and that's it. But anyways, let's do some comments. And then we'll end this. I do have a dinner reservation that I have to make, but we do have a let's go. Thank you, Sanjok, so much for your donation. Matt Sanjok says, so motivated to get 100 points was a lie. Yeah. Apparently, because that didn't happen, right? But I'll tell you this. The loss against Alaves, the team looked a little bit more motivated. Like, the team looked like they were playing like how they usually play. But Alaves just got the best of us. Today was like zero motivation. I mean, these players are out there just walking around. But, yeah, it's gonna, I guess, I don't know if it was a lie. Maybe the players did want it, but maybe they just didn't want it enough. Because, and it makes sense, especially with a World Cup around the corner. If there was no World Cup, I think these players would have stayed super motivated for the 100 points. I really do. But why would you risk, injury when look what happened to Fermin? I mean, Fermin broke his foot against Real Betis. A meaningless match. A match where we were already champs. And now, look, he's going to miss the whole World Cup. So, of course, his teammates are going to look at that and be like, what the hell? I'm not risking that. For what? Even if we made 100 points, you don't get a second La Liga title because you reached 100 points, right? So, I don't know if it was a lie or not. Maybe they believed it and then it went away as the time went by. I don't know, but I understand it, honestly. Now, if there was no World Cup, I could see the players get motivated because then if you are risking injury, but if you get injured, that's okay. I mean, it's, the season ends half May. You still have the rest of May, all of June, and all of July technically to recover, and then still have the first half of August to get back into shape so you can start the season. Or even if you do miss the beginning of the season, it's okay, right? So you have plenty of time to recover if you risk injury getting those 100 points. Here, there's no time to recover. You get injured, and that could mean the end of the World Cup for you. And that only comes once every 4 years. People don't want to miss the World Cup, right? So I understand it. I don't know if it was a lie or not, but I definitely understand not wanting to risk injury for 100 points. I mean, what's the point? You don't get a second trophy for that. Mike Valencia says, Mallorca and Girona relegated now. Yeah, man. I know. Fergus says Barca should go for Jeremiah Hernandez or Andreas Sheldrup for the left wing. 2 players that were considered, but apparently we're going for Rashford because, you saw how amazing he is today. Not the Gamer says, how did Mallorca and Girona get relegated? It's time for Deco to look in to sign their best players, Muriqi, Arnau Martinez, Virgili. No, we don't need no Muriqui, man. Come on. The Rebel Pilot says, aside from Eddie Garcia, Kouassi, Martin, and Cancelo, the entire defense needs to go. Christian was especially horrid, and the fact that this club wants to renew him is incomprehensible. Well, to be fair to Christensen, even though I'm against renewing him because he's been injured for 2 seasons, but in his defense, he has been injured for 2 seasons, right? So this is why he was horrendous today. But he's a quality defender. The only reason he looked that horrible today is because he's coming back from such a long stint of being out. But no, I'm not in favor of his renewal, though, because I fear like the next 2 seasons he's going to be injured again. Bizka Michael says, do you know if Christensen agreed to his lower salary renewal you reported on? I would be happier with Van de Ven. Yes, apparently he has. And Sir Charles says, though Barca lost final game, felt good that Lewy got his goodbye goal, though he's 38. years old. He showed really good instinct, redirecting that Ferran's failed shot and turning it into an assist. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's that's the number 9 instinct that he has, which is unmatched, right? There's only very, very few nines that can still that have that instinct. Like that classic number 9 type of instinct. Harry Kane, Haaland. I think that's pretty much it, and Lewy. But yeah, I mean that's what I'm talking about. When I talk about that instinct that you can't really teach. Can't teach someone that instinct. You either have it or you don't. And Lewy has obviously had it from day one. I mean, most players, they see Ferran taking a shot and it would have just stayed, right? They would have thought, okay, that's a shot. The play is over. He's gonna take a shot. It's either gonna go in or get blocked or go out, right? And if it get blocked, maybe I can be ready for the rebound. Not Lewy, man. Lewy follows the whole play even after the shot is made, and then boom, turns it into a goal. Turns a horrible kick into a goal. El Raul says it's so obvious Flick just want to protect Rafinha's starting position. That's why he wants Rashford, because there's no way a club as massive as Barca buys Rashford. We need Lamine-like profile there. I don't think Flick would risk not winning trophies or not being as competitive as he could just to protect someone's position. I think that's a little bit far-fetched. Enrico says, now I know why Xavi Sparta was the bench all this time to literally hand Valencia the win and their conference league spot. No conference league spot for Valencia. It's Getafe they're going. But, I mean, again, the same way I don't blame Christian for his horrendous performance today because he's been out for so long. I don't blame Xavi Sparta because, I mean, the guy is green. Still green, He's going to make those mistakes. He has to make those mistakes. That's how he's going to learn. Onward and upward, my friend. And Luis Solano says, for the right back position, would you go for Arnau Martinez with Girona being relegated? Thought on Mingueza on a free transfer. I don't know if either of them would make us necessarily much better. Maybe they would make us good in La Liga, but right now what we need is players who can make us good in the Champions League. And I don't know if any of those two could mean that. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. That is all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, it's over. The league is over. We are champions for the 2nd season in a row. Unfortunate loss, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really have much effect on our championship. And then, of course, let me know, what are you guys going to be doing from here until August? Obviously, we do have the World Cup, so I'm sure a lot of you will be watching the World Cup. I will be, but aside from that, how do you guys kill your time when Barca's not playing? I know I go a little bit cuckoo because, it's such a part of my routine, my weekly routine to watch the team. And, when they stop playing, it always feels like something's missing, right? So let me know. I will be making a video about the summary of the season, and then I will be posting a video later tonight about news because there is more news to talk about. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, Visca Barça.